How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and with this episode of The Elite, I'm going to take you through the Elite performances from yesterday, Saturday, January 2nd. And of course, I'm going to preview all the Elite performances for today as we jump through the NFL, NBA, college basketball, college football, and soccer. I'm going to start with the NFL because today's the last week of the regular season. And with a lot of playoff spots in the balance, and considering all the games are today, the NFL playoff picture will officially be shaped by the end of the day today. So starting with the 1 o'clock games, the 10-5 Buccaneers are going to face off against the Atlanta Falcons. Right now, they're sitting fifth in the division, or they're sitting fifth in the conference, and a win here could very possibly see them sit with the number 5 spot going into the playoffs. The 12-3 Buffalo Bills are going to face off against the 10-3 Dolphins. The Buffalo Bills sitting second in the AFC. A win here, we can see them hold on to that number 2 spot. The Miami Dolphins are sitting fifth at the top of the wild card. So a win here can most definitely see them clinch a spot within as these two teams fight one another or face off against one another. The 4-10-1 Cincinnati Bengals are going to host the 10-5 Ravens, who are currently sitting sixth in the AFC. And most definitely need a win here to see themselves go through. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go to Cleveland to face off against the Browns. A win for the Steelers can see them possibly move up to second place if the Bills lose. Right now, they're tied with the same record as the Cleveland Browns are sitting seventh in the AFC. A win for them can most likely see them secure a spot in the playoffs. The 5-10 Lions face off against the 6-9 Vikings with nothing much really to play for except for draft positioning. The 6-9 New England Patriots are going to face off against the 2-3 Jets, and the Jets have actually been playing well recently, so the Patriots need to look out. The 5-10 New York Giants are going to face off against the 6-9 Dallas Cowboys. Both teams are still technically fighting. They're mathematically able to take over the top spot in the NFC East. So a win here for either team could be very huge. The 8-7 Chicago Bears are going to host the 12-3 Green Bay Packers. Looking out in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers are sitting in the top spot. A win today could see them clinch the first round bye. And the Chicago Bears are currently sitting in the 7th spot in the NFC. So, of course, both teams have something to play for. Also at 425, the 5-10 Broncos face off against the 7-8 Las Vegas Raiders with no playoff implications. Also at 425, the 10-5 Indianapolis Colts host the 1-14 Jaguars. The Colts are the team on the bubble, so if any of the Miami Dolphins, Baltimore Ravens, or Cleveland Browns loses this week, the Indianapolis Colts could move in and take their spot, unless the 1-14 Jaguars beat the Colts today. Also, the 14-1 Kansas City Chiefs are going to host the 6-9 Los Angeles Chargers. Regardless, the Kansas City Chiefs have clinched the division and the home field advantage, so I doubt they're going to have their starters play. Also at 425, the 9-6 Los Angeles Rams are going to face off against the 8-7 Cardinals. The Los Angeles Rams have not clinched the playoffs yet. They're only one game ahead of the Cardinals. They are only one game into the wild card, and since the Bears and the Cardinals are right behind them, a Rams loss can see them fall out the playoffs, and a Cardinals win could see them jump right in because the Cardinals are on the bubble. So, like I just said, a win, the only way they make it in is if they win. Also at 425, the 6-9 San Francisco 49ers host the 11-4 Seahawks. The Seahawks are currently winning the division. They've already clinched the division. A win here could possibly see them move past New Orleans. And possibly even Green Bay for that matter. But that's where the Seahawks currently sit. The 5-10 Carolina Panthers host the 11-4 Saints at 425. Saints are in the same position as the Seahawks. They're both 11-4. Both they could see themselves passing the Green Bay Packers if the schedule allows them to. But of course, a win here can see them clinch the number 2 spot over the Seattle Seahawks, so that they can get home field advantage over them if they were slated to play against them. Also at 425, the 4-11 Houston Texans are going to host the 10-5 Tennessee Titans. The Titans are sitting with the 4th spot because they hold a tiebreaker over the Colts. They hold the division. a win against the Texans could secure a spot for them in the playoffs. But of course, the Texans definitely want to be spoilers in this one. And at 8:20, the 4-10-1 Philadelphia Eagles, who have no playoff implications, are going to face off against the 6-9 Washington football team. Washington is currently sitting at the top of the division, so a win against the Eagles means that they secure a spot in the. That means that they secure a spot in the playoffs for themselves. But that's currently what the NFL is looking like today, and then I'll get to you tomorrow regarding how all these games shaped out. Jumping to the NBA, the Atlanta Hawks hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers were able to beat the Atlanta Hawks 96-91 after outscoring them by 17 in the second half. Big second half resurgence from the Cavaliers, who were down early. For the Atlanta Hawks, their starting center, Clint Capella, would finish with 16 points and 16 rebounds, along with 3 steals and 2 blocks, shooting 8 for 12 from the field, shooting 0 for 5 from the free throw line. Their elite point guard, Trae Young, would finish with 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. And their leading scorer was their starting small forward, DeAndre Hunter, who would finish with 17 points and 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals, and 31 minutes, shooting 5 for 11 from the field. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, their leading scorer was their starting point guard, Colin Sexton, who would finish with 27 points, 3 assists, and 3 steals against his hometown team. In his hometown stadium, he would shoot 10 for 18 from the field in 36 minutes, 2 for 5 from 3, and he made all 5 of his free throws. With this win, the Cavaliers are now 4-2 on the season. Currently looking at the NBA, they're sitting with the 4th best record in the East, tied with the Pacers, the Magic, and the Atlanta Hawks. And with this loss, the Atlanta Hawks, like I said, they're tied with the Cavaliers, tied with the 2nd best record in the entire East. As they are coming off of a back-to-back, so of course it was a tough game, but still no excuses. Big win for Cleveland. Jumping out to Houston, the Rockets hosted the Sacramento Kings and were able to beat them 102-94 after outscoring the Kings by exactly 8 in the second half after tying them in both the first and second quarters. For the Sacramento Kings, their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield, would finish with 17 points, shooting 6 for 17 from the field, 5 for 12 from 3 in 38 minutes. Their starting small forward, Harrison Barnes, would finish with 19 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 7 for 13 from the field. And then their leading scorer was their starting point guard, De'Aaron Fox, who'd finished with 23 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals, shooting 8 for 19 from the field and 7 for 10 from the free throw line. And then for the Houston Rockets, their starting power forward, Christian Wood, would finish with 20 points and 15 rebounds. Their starting shooting guard, Eric Gord, would finish with 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. And then their leading scorer was their elite point guard, John Wall, who would finish with 28 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, shooting 11 for 21 from the field in 37 minutes, 2 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. With this win, the Houston Rockets are currently sitting at 2-2, as they are sitting in the 7th spot in the entire West. They're the only team with that record. And with this loss, the Sacramento Kings are now sitting 8th, as they're the only other team sitting at about 500 this year. They are 3-3, as the Rockets are 2-2. Jumping to Indianapolis, the Pacers hosted the New York Knicks, and the Knicks were able to beat the Pacers by 4 after outscoring the Pacers by 4 in the fourth quarter, going into a tie game. Big win, pull it out of the end by the New York Knicks. For the Indiana Pacers, their starting shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, would finish with 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 3 for 16 from the field in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the free throw line. Their starting power forward, Miles Turner, would finish with 17 points and 4 rebounds, shooting 7 for 15 from the field in 32 minutes. And their leading scorer was their starting point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, who finished with 33 points, 7 assists, and 2 steals, shooting 12 for 18 from the field in 41 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from 3 and made both of his free throw attempts. For the New York Knicks, off the bench, their point guard off the bench, Austin Rivers, would finish with 15 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists, shooting 6 for 9 from the field in 17 minutes. Their starting center, Mitchell Robinson, would finish with 16 points on the night, along with 9 rebounds, shooting 8 for 10 from the field in 29 minutes. Their starting point guard, Elfrid Payton, would finish with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 8 for 17 from the field in 34 minutes. And their leading scorer was their starting shooting guard out of Duke, R.J. Barrett, who would finish with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists in 42 minutes, shooting 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Jumping out to Orlando, the Magic hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder, and in this game, the Thunder were able to get the best of the Magic, beating them 108-99, especially after outscoring them by 7 in the fourth quarter. Big win for Oklahoma City as they get their second win of the season. For Orlando, off the bench, their shooting guard Terrence Ross would finish with 26 points and 6 rebounds in 31 minutes, shooting 9 for 21 from the field. And their leading scorer was their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 30 points and 13 rebounds, shooting 13 for 21 from the field in 35 minutes. Also, their power forward, Eric Gordon, would finish with 15 points and 8 rebounds and 5 assists, shooting 6 for 15 from the field in 28 minutes. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their starting shooting guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, would finish with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 5 for 17 from the field in 35 minutes. And he also shot 2 for 9 from 3 as he shot 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard, George Hill, would finish with 18 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals, shooting 7 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. And their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Darius Bazley, who'd finished with 19 points and 12 rebounds, shooting 7 for 10 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3 in 32 minutes. With this win, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now currently sitting at 2-3 with the 13th best, or they're tied for the 9th best record in the West with the Spurs, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, and the Warriors as it stands. And with this loss, the Orlando Magic are currently sitting with tied for the second best record in the East with the Pacers, the Cavs, and the Hawks as the East currently stands. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the 76ers were able to beat the Charlotte Hornets 127-112 after outscoring them by 15 in the first quarter, and it was pretty even for the rest. It was pretty even for the rest of the game. But with this win, the 76ers were able to hold on to the best record in the East, and they're able to now they have a 1-game advantage over the rest of the East following this win. For the Charlotte Hornets, off the bench, their elite point guard and number 3 overall pick from the 2020 NBA draft, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 steals, shooting 4 for 12 from the field in 31 minutes, 1 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting small forward, Gordon Hayward, would finish with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, shooting 7 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. And their starting point guard, Terry Rozier, would finish with 35 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 12 for 18 from the field, 7-11 from 3, and made all 4 of his free throw attempts on the day. For the Philadelphia 76ers, off the bench, their shooting guard, Shake Milton, would finish with 18 points and 4 rebounds in 25 minutes, shooting 7 for 13 from the field. Their elite starting point guard, Ben Simmons, would finish with 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists, shooting 6 for 9 from the field and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. Their elite starting center, Joel Embiid, would finish with 19 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 37 minutes, along with 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard, Seth Curry, would finish with 21 points and 6 assists, shooting 8 for 11 from the field in 34 minutes. He also shot 3 for 6 from 3 and made both of his free throw attempts. And the 76ers' leading scorer of the night was their small forward, Tobias Harris, who finished with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, along with 4 steals and 3 blocks, shooting 9 for 14 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made both of his free throw attempts. With this win, the Sixers, like I said 3 times, they're sitting at the top of the East with a 5-1 record. And with this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are currently sitting they're tied for the 11th best record in the East with the Chicago Bulls at 2-4. And then jumping out to New Orleans for the final game of the night, the New Orleans Pelicans hosted the Toronto Raptors and were able to beat them 120-116, especially after a big third quarter in which they outscored the Raptors by 10 to overcome their deficit from the first half. For the Toronto Raptors, off the bench, their power forward, Chris Boucher, would finish with 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 29 minutes, shooting 7 for 13 from the field and making 9 of his 9 free throw attempts. Out of their starters, their starting point guard, their starting elite point guard, Kyle Lowry, would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 4 for 14 from the field, 3 for 11 from three, and making all 5 of his free throws. Their starting small forward, OG Anunoby, would finish with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists in 36 minutes. Their elite power forward, Pascal Siakam, would finish with 10 points and 4 rebounds, shooting 4 for 10 from the field, 0 for 4 from three, and making both of his free throw attempts. And their leading scorer was their starting small shooting guard, Fred VanVleet, who would finish with 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 9 for 23 from the field, 4 for 13 from three, and making all 5 of his free throw attempts in 40 minutes. Looking at it, the New Orleans Pelicans, their starting point guard, Eric Bledsoe, would finish with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from three, and making 5 of his 6 free throw attempts on the night. Their elite small forward, the number 1 overall pick from the 2019 draft, Zion Williamson, would finish with 21 points and 7 rebounds in 33 minutes, shooting 7 for 12 from the field and 7 for 10 from the free throw line. And then their leading scorer was their elite small forward, Brandon Ingram, who'd finish with 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 8 for 17 from the field in 35 minutes, 4 for 8 from three, and 11 for 14 from the free throw line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are now 4-2, sitting near the top of the West, with the tie for the second best record in the entire conference, with the Los Angeles Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers at the moment. And with this loss, the Toronto Raptors are now tied for 13th in the East with the Detroit Pistons with a 1-4 record. So that's what happened with the NBA yesterday, and looking out to what's going to happen today, on Sunday, January 3rd. Starting with the primetime games that are going to be on TV. At 3 o'clock, the 1-4 Detroit Pistons are going to host the 3-3 Boston Celtics on NBA TV. At 6 o'clock, the 3-3 Brooklyn Nets are going to host the 1-5 Washington Wizards on NBA TV, as this is the first matchup between Russell Westbrook and KD, or like this season, KD playing with Brooklyn, playing against Russ for the first time when Russ isn't in OKC. That's what it is. And then following that game at 8:30, NBA TV is going to show the 2-3 Golden State Warriors hosting the 3-2 Portland Trail Blazers. In addition to those, at 6 o'clock, the 2-3 Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the 4-2 reigning defending NBA champs, the Los Angeles Lakers. At 7 o'clock, the 2-3 Minnesota Timberwolves are going to host the 1-4 Denver Nuggets. Also at 7, the 2-3 San Antonio Spurs are going to host the 3-2 Utah Jazz. At 8 o'clock, the 2-4 Chicago Bulls are going to host the 2-3 Dallas Mavericks. And then at 8 o'clock, it'll be a pretty good matchup, actually, as the top two of the top teams in the West face off. The 5-1 Phoenix Suns are going to host the 4-2 Los Angeles Clippers. And then I'll get back to you tomorrow regarding how these games finished out. Looking at college basketball, the number 1 Gonzaga Bulldogs were able to beat the San Francisco Dons 85-62, as Corey Kispert led the way with 26 points. With this win, the Gonzaga Bulldogs are now 10-0 on the season. The second-ranked Baylor Bears went to Iowa State and were able to beat them 76-65 to remain 9-0 and 2-0 in the Big 12, as Jared Butler dropped 21 points and 5 assists to help Baylor roll to 9-0 on the season. Third-ranked Kansas hosted 8th-ranked Texas, as 8th-ranked Texas was able to beat Kansas by 25 points, outscoring Kansas by 8 in the first half and then 17 in the second. Matt Coleman III led Texas with 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. And with this win, Texas is now 8-1. They are 2-0 in the Big 10. With this loss, Kansas is now 8-2, as they are now 2-1 in the Big 12. 7th-ranked Tennessee hosted unranked Alabama, and Alabama was able to get the best of Tennessee, beating them 71-63, led by John Petty Jr.'s 17 points. With this win, Alabama is now 7-3, 2-0 in the SEC, and with this loss, Tennessee is now 7-1. They picked up their first loss of the season, and they're now 1-1 in the SEC. Unranked Oklahoma was able to beat 9th-ranked West Virginia in Oklahoma, 75-71. As they were able to resist West Virginia's comeback in the second half. Umoja Gibson would lead the way for Oklahoma, finishing with 29 points on the night. With this win, Oklahoma would finish, or right now they are sitting at 6-2. They are 2-1 in the Big 12. And with this loss, West Virginia is now 8-3. They are 1-2 in the Big 12 as it stands. 14th-ranked Rutgers hosted 10th-ranked Iowa, and 10th-ranked Iowa was able to score just enough to beat Rutgers in the very end. They tied in the first half, and then they were able to barely escape past Rutgers by 2 points in the second half. For Iowa, their leading scorer was Luka Garza, who had 25 points and 4 rebounds. With this win, Iowa is now 9-2. They are 3-1 in the Big Ten, and with this loss, Rutgers is now 7-2. They are 3-2 in the Big Ten. 11th ranked Creighton went out to Providence and were able to beat the Friars 67-65 after outscoring them by 8 in the first half. When leading Creighton was Damian Jefferson, who had 18 points and 8 rebounds. With this win, Creighton is now 8-2 on the season. They are 4-1 in the Big East. And then 12th ranked Mizzou went to Arkansas and were able to beat them 81-68 to hand Arkansas their first loss of the season. Leading Mizzou was Jeremiah Tillman, who had 25 points and 11 rebounds. Mizzou, with this win, is now 7-1. They are 1-1 in the SEC, and with this loss, Arkansas is now 9-1. They are 1-1 in the SEC as well. Unranked Oklahoma State was able to beat 13th ranked Texas Tech 82-77 in overtime, giving Texas Tech a big loss in the Big 12. For Oklahoma State, Avery Anderson III was their leading scorer. He had 17 points and 6 rebounds. With this win, Oklahoma State is now 7-2 on the season. They are 1-2 in the Big 12, picking up their first win in the conference. And with this loss, Texas Tech is now 8-3 as they drop to 1-2 in the Big 12 as well. 15th ranked Illinois was able to beat unranked Purdue 66-58 behind DeMonte Williams' 12 points and 10 rebounds. Illinois finished right now. They're sitting at 8-3. They're 4-1 in the Big Ten as everything stands. And Purdue drops to 7-5 and 2-3 in the Big Ten with this loss. 17th ranked Michigan State was able to beat Nebraska in Nebraska 84-77 after outscoring them by 7 in the first and kept a very even second half. Aaron Henry would lead Michigan State with 27 points. And with this win, they are now 7-3. They are 1-3 in the Big Ten, picking up their first win in the conference. And with this loss, Nebraska is 4-7, and they are 0-4 in the Big Ten. And last but not least, 21st ranked Oregon was able to beat unranked Stanford 73-56 behind Chris Duarte's 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals. With this win, Oregon is now 8-1 on the season. They are 3-0 in the Pac-12, and with this loss, Stanford is now 5-3. They are now 1-1 in the Pac-12. And then jumping out to college football, because of course some bowl games were actually being played yesterday. I think they were the last bowl games of the bowl season until, the championship game. Starting off with the Orange Bowl, 5th-ranked Texas A&M was able to beat 13th-ranked UNC 41-27 after outscoring them 24-7 in the fourth quarter. Texas A&M would basically run away with this after UNC would take a touchdown lead, but Texas A&M would tie it up, and then they would run away with it with a very important lead. For the Tar Heels, their starting quarterback, Sam Howell, would throw for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns. As for Texas A&M, their leading player was their running back, Devin A. Kane, who would finish with 140 yards and 12 carries and 2 touchdowns. With this win, Texas A&M would finish their season 9-1, and with this loss, UNC would finish their season 8-4 after a very hard-fought season all the way through when you really kind of get to see what they did this season. And then 23rd ranked NC State Wolfpack, they faced off against the unranked Kentucky Wildcats in the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, and the Kentucky Wildcats were able to get the best of the NC State Wolfpack, beating them 23-21 after a big touchdown with 3 minutes left to put them up by 9. NC State would score a touchdown, but that would kind of be it as Kentucky ran away with their 5th win of the season. For NC State, their quarterback Bailey Hockman would throw 3 interceptions on the night. Not very big for them, but of course for Kentucky, Chris Rodriguez Jr. would run for 2 touchdowns, which would be big and would prove vital for them. They would finish the season 5-6 with this bowl win, and with this loss, the 23rd ranked NC State Wolfpack will finish the season 8-4 and more than likely outside of the rankings when the rankings come to a close. Jumping out to the Outback Bowl, the 11th ranked Indiana Hoosiers faced off against the unranked Ole Miss Rebels, and in this game, the Ole Miss Rebels were able to beat the Hoosiers 26-20 after a last-second touchdown with 4 minutes left. Even though the 2-point conversion failed, Indiana was still unable to score for the game. For Indiana, Jack Tuttle threw for 201 yards and threw a pick. Stevie Scott III was their only producer on offense, or the only person that scored in their offense. He had 99 yards on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns. And then for Ole Miss, their starting quarterback, Matt Corral, would throw for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big game for him is with this win, Ole Miss would finish the season 5-5. And with this loss, Indiana would finish the season 6-2 after a pretty good Big Ten season when you think about it. And then jumping out to the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, the 10th ranked Iowa State Cyclones were able to beat the 25th ranked Oregon Ducks 34-17 after outscoring them basically 28-17 in the first half. And they held the Ducks scoreless the entire second half while they just chipped in a field goal each quarter. Jumping out to Oregon, their starting quarterback Anthony Brown with over 147 yards. He was the only player that scored for them as he ran for 36 yards on the ground. And then for Iowa State, Brock Purdy with over 156 yards and run for a touchdown. So both quarterbacks had 2 touchdowns, but Breece Hall would be the difference, the running back for Iowa State, finishing with 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's everything. I mean, that is everything with college football until the college football championship game on the 11th. So I'll get back to you regarding how college football is looking on that day. And last but not least, jumping to soccer, just to show you what's going on those leagues as most soccer resumes this week. Tottenham Hotspur were able to beat Leeds United 3-0. Their elite striker, Harry Kane, was able to score on a 29th minute penalty kick. And then Son Heung-min, their elite forward, was able to finish on the 43rd minute, helping Tottenham Hotspur get 3 goals in the game and 3 points in the table. As it sits, they are currently 4 points behind Liverpool and Manchester United in first, but they're not sitting comfortably in third, but they are tied with Leicester City and Everton at the moment as it currently stands, so that win was pretty big for them. And then that was the only crazy big game except for Real Madrid beating Celta Vigo 2-0 to get a good jump at La Liga. As it currently stands in La Liga, they are sitting at the top of the table with 1 point over Atletico Madrid, even though Atletico Madrid has 3 less games played than Real Madrid. So it'll be a matter of time before they pass up Real Madrid in the table. Looking out to what's going on today, starting in the Premier League, Chelsea is going to face off against Manchester City at 11:30. That'll be a very big matchup between these two teams because, like I just said, both these teams are fighting for a spot or a chance to jump back up into Champions League, into the Champions League 4. For Chelsea, through their 16 games, they are currently sitting 7 games from the top with 16 games played. They currently have 26 points in the table. Same with Manchester City, but Manchester City has 2 less games played, so they're technically ahead of Chelsea. But a win for Chelsea could be very big for them. And when Manchester City most definitely needs this win too. Jumping out to the Bundesliga, the reigning Bundesliga champs Bayern Munich are going to face off against Mainz as they look to hold their spot at the top of the league. They are currently 1 point behind RB Leipzig with 1 less game played, so a win here could see them jump right back up to the top. And then Borussia Dortmund is going to face off against Wolfsburg at 9 a.m. today, as Wolfsburg sits 5th in the Bundesliga, as they are 7 points from top, and Borussia Dortmund is 2 points behind them. So Dortmund could see themselves jump over Wolfsburg and Union Berlin back into the top 4 with a win here, so that would be very important for Borussia Dortmund to get their 2021 season kicked off. Inter Milan is going to face off against Crotone at about 6:30, so that's going to be a very big matchup as Inter Milan is sitting at the very top of the Serie A. They're sitting 1 point behind AC Milan as it currently stands, so a win here will be very big considering AC Milan has a game against Juve coming up. And also in Serie A, Juventus is going to face off against Udinese at 2:45. Looking at the table, Juventus is currently sitting 6th with 1 less game played than AC Milan, but they are currently sitting 10 games from the top. They're sitting 10 points from the top of the table, which is not looking good for them at the moment. Looking out to La Liga matchups, Atletico Madrid, who's currently sitting at the top of the table, or who's sitting 1 point out from the top of the table, can see themselves jump back up to the top, but they win at Alaves today. That'll be a very interesting matchup. And then Barcelona is going to go to Huesca at 3 o'clock. As you look at where they are sitting in La Liga, they are sitting 6th. They are currently 11 points out from the top with 2 less games played than Real Madrid. So a win here could possibly see themselves shoot up La Liga, but we still have to see how the rest of the games fare, how they play out. with that said, those are all the soccer games to look out for today. There's a lot of sports going on today on Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and then I will catch you tomorrow regarding regarding today's matchups. I want to thank you once again for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I will catch you tomorrow on Monday, January 4th, 2021.